Record. Uh, what games are we supposed to play for the reading quiz? Says Eddie. This week, it's a game heavy week. Um, we're going to talk about Stanley Parable a bit today. So that's on the reading quiz. And then for Thursday, tomorrow at 3 p.m., I will be playing Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the really big Emerald super heist something. I forget the name of it, but it's like that. And the Beginner's Guide. I will be playing both of those tomorrow at 3. Tune in or go play them yourself. Dr. Langeskov is free, and Beginner's Guide is it costs money, some money, the monies. One is if you noticed in Stanley Parable, hey, let's go to Stanley Parable. There in the credits, if you saw the credits, the game is essentially made by two people. One is Davey Wreden, who was the original impetus behind the game and the lead writer. And the other is, I gotta go find it because I don't remember the other guy's name. Let me find it. Library. Come on. Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the terribly cursed Emerald, a whirlwind heist. And I wish I could see guide support. It is made by a company called Crows. View in store. Crows by William Pugh. There it is. Who was the level designer for the Stanley Parable. So, and it says actually in the museum ending that David Pugh, is it David Pugh or William Pugh? William Pugh. He auditioned. He sent a sample level to Davey Wreden to become the level designer for Stanley Parable. Stanley Parable was originally a mod. It was people playing around with the source engine, and became wildly popular. And so they decided to do what they called the HD remake, which I think the original was in HD. I don't know. But they basically redid the entire game. They added more stuff. They took away other stuff. There are changes to it from the original mod. It was a Half-Life mod, or actually probably a Half-Life 2 mod. I don't know. And so they remade it and they started selling it. Business-wise, tomorrow, come watch me play what is essentially the second game from the two people who made the Stanley Parable. And we'll talk more about Glasner. But what I really want to talk about today, first off, I got through all the right clubs from last week. You'll recall it was create an equipable item for an MMO that is set in the American Civil War. Strangely enough, and I got more than one this year that was clearly not the American Civil War, which was strange. That's never happened before. I got some for the Trojan War. I got some for the English Civil War. I can see Google going bad on you if you just Google Civil War and start going, getting the English Civil War. I'm not sure how we got the Trojan War, but okay, whatever. So from this class, good ones. The Bull Runners, more shoes. The Gettysburg headdress, which I like because it's both a play on words, like it still sounds like the Gettysburg Address, but it is now a thing. The Reconstruction Deconstructor, which I can only assume is some kind of weapon, but it sounds really badass. If I were wielding the Reconstruction Deconstructor, I would be exploding things. The Bleeding Kansas Bloomers, which works on a couple of levels there. If you know what bloomers are and Bleeding Kansas, and the Civil War with Bleeding Kansas, I thought that was funny on a number of levels. The Hardtack Crusted Belt, which paints a picture that I'm not sure I'd want to eat that hardtack, but it was vivid. The Getty's dress, which again, nice play on words. The ever popular, I've been saying this for years. Somebody got it this year. Burnside's sideburns. My favorite. Did you know that sideburns are named after Burnside because he had such awesome sideburns? In fact, I'm going to Google that because I want to share. I want to share a picture of General Burnside. Share this. This is the man that sideburns are named for, as it should be. He's kind of awesome in his hairiness, and apparently he only got better with age, right? That is some serious commitment to some sideburns. I'm also like I now I have a beard, right? I put beard butter on, a conditioner and a kind of moisturizer, and I am curious what Ambrose Burnside used for his beautiful beard. Okay, I'm going to stop that now. They didn't widen the doors for the hoop skirts, but for his sideburns. I actually lived in a house that had an extra wide door to accommodate hoop skirts in Waltham, because we'd go in this old house. I lived on the third floor of it, and people would be like, "Why is the door so gigantic?" And I'm like, "Hoop skirts." Yeah. And finally, the John Wilkes brooch, or John Wilkes brooch, but it looks like brooch. Get it? John Wilkes brooch. It's pronounced brooch, but it's spelled brooch. So I liked all of those. if I don't read yours, it's not because I hated it. It's just because I can't spend all class um, reading stuff for Right Club. So this week's Right Club, share my screen, which is already up, should be already up. You are supposed to write 3 barks, one of which has to be good, for a real-time strategy game based on classic Disney animation characters. In fact, let me get the chat because I expect. Barks are, it's a very technical term in game writing. They're the little things that non-player characters say, or just units say when you click on them. So they can be there. There are unsolicited barks and then click barks. So many times when you get near an NPC that has a quest or that does something, they will say something, and that whatever they say is a little bit louder than the surrounding, hubbub. So in Assassin's Creed that I'm playing, I'm walking through crowds and you hear, uh, uh, what an outrage, right? And that that whoever's outraged is uh, is a quest, or at least a something. Something is going down. In real-time strategy games, you click on a unit and it says something to vocally indicate that it is selected. So I've used right here. This isn't. I'm going to stop the share, and I'm going to share again, and I'm going to share computer sound. Share. So that you can hear. These are the classic StarCraft Marine barks.
Commander, standing by. Jacked up and good to go. Give me something to shoot. Go, go, go. Let's move. Outstanding. Rock and roll. You want a piece of me, boy? That's the stuff.
Oh,
yeah. We gotta move.
Yeah, you should be.
Are you gonna give me orders? Oh my God, he's whacked. I vote we frag this, Commander. How do I get out of this chicken shit outfit? You want a piece of me, boy?
So we're making a real-time strategy game where various Disney animated characters somehow come in conflict. I can't imagine that they would bloodily fight each other like StarCraft, but say they throw paint or something. I don't know. The question always comes up: uh, does this count? Is this Disney? Because Disney owns everything. So I'm spelling it out. No Marvel, no Star Wars, no Fox, no Pixar. Yes, they own all those things. We are looking for all the Disney animated films. Please don't go to your childhood Disney Channel favorite cartoon, because chances are I have not seen it, and so it makes it harder for me. I am pretty familiar with Disney crap. So these are, can you see? I don't even know if you can see all the titles here, but you get the gist of things with the years. Golden Age, it's funny because Golden Age is only 4 films, which is Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Dumbo. And Well, Golden Age would also be Bambi, I think. I don't know why Bambi's not in there. Maybe it's down further. Um, I don't know. I pulled this off Google, and so this is blocking this this umbrella is blocking it. So wartime era is a bunch of crap because nobody had any money. Um, they were making films, short films for the war, and half their animators went off to fight. Silver Age, when you get back from the war, we've got the princesses come in: Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Sleeping Beauty, 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan, um, Sword in the Stone, Lady and the Tramp, and Jungle Book. Then quality goes down. They're getting their lunch eaten by Warner Brothers, and so we go to Aristocats, Robin Hood, the Pooh stuff, the Rescuers, Oliver and Company, which is a dark chapter. Um, I'm sure somebody out there loves and Company. I can't see the other ones. Oh, the Black Cauldron. That's another. Whew. Um, then with Little Mermaid, they're back, baby, and we get all those from that era. Another Rescuers. That's Rescuers Down Under, as opposed to Rescuers. Sorry, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas. I can't make out what that one is. Um, oh, Hunchback, um, Tarzan, Mulan, and I don't know what this one is. And then post Renaissance, aka when things started sucking again, we've got uh, uh, the Emperor's New Groove, um, Dinosaurs, Brother Bear, Fantasia 2000, Titan AE, I think, or is it it's one of the space ones. Emperor's New Groove is terrible. Uh, Lilo and Stitch, which has its fans. It's probably the best of the bunch. Um, boo, boo, boo.
The chat is blowing up, by the way.
Yeah,
I
and
think you're hitting their childhood.
This is where they were kids, and eventually we'll age out of that and get back to good movies.
New Groove is awesome.
Yeah. Bolt is not all that great, but Frozen, Tangled, Princess and the Frog, Big Hero 6, Zootopia, Moana is amazing, Wreck-It Ralph, and I don't know what this one is. And then finally, the new era, which is where we are now, which is what? Frozen 2 and Ralph Wrecks the Internet. And now we've got, well, Onward is Pixar, so that doesn't count. Didn't we just have another one? Oh, Toy Story. Pixar's doing better than Disney in terms of since 2018. So you got lots of characters to choose from in here. Ralph Wrecks the Internet was not great. I'm not going to argue that one. It was okay. But yeah, honestly, I wasn't paying much attention to it while it was on. I saw it in a pool in Disney World. They had I was in the pool, the film wasn't, and they had a movie screen set up, and I was freezing my butt off, and I left. Anyway, so as ever, shorter is better. Think about this. You will hear this thing that you are writing hundreds of times. Your players will. So if you make it super annoying, you will super annoy your players. You will also become infamous. So the guy who wrote, I used to be an adventurer, but then I took an arrow to the knee, right? Became a meme. Everybody thought it was silly. And then, of course, the pedants came out and said, well, that's actually Norse for getting married. It's not literal, blah, blah, blah. The point being, they didn't have enough barks for those. Yeah, well, they patched, Eddie. They patched more barks in after it blew up. But they didn't, when it was released, they didn't have enough barks for those guards. So with only 4 or 5 barks and hundreds of guards around the world, you'd hear that over and over and over, and it became silly and stupid. So just to be clear, some barks are the guards kept saying, don't forget me, over and over, and you fought like 5 at a time in Xenoblade 2, so they put more in. Yeah. There is a budget for these things, right? So how long are you going to pay your writer to sit there and write stupid crap that people say, right? So you can remember, this is a real-time strategy game. So they can be for just when I click. And so if we go back to this,
Commander.
that's a click, right? That's just you have clicked on me, you have my attention.
Standing by.
Another just
Jacked
click.
up and good to go.
Jacked up and good to go.
Give me something to shoot.
Might be a move. Sometimes when you tell them to move, then they will say something else.
Go, go, go.
Go, go, go. That's a move.
Let's move.
Let's move is a move.
Outstanding. Rock and roll.
Rock and roll is probably an attack order.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Another attack order.
That's the stuff.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
I don't
We gotta
even
move.
know.
Are you gonna give me orders?
Okay, so context here. They can be move, attack, or just acknowledgement that you clicked on me. But here's the thing. The really simple, well, they would probably be very simple things. So don't just grab a quote from one of the movies and call it done. It should be an actual acknowledgement of yeah, I'm gonna wreck it. Is both a quote and an attack. You can even change things around, right? So go for puns, go for plays on words of the famous quotes, and feel free to identify the character. But once again, can we actually use that? Well, see, Eddie, you gave it to us as an example, and so no, now you can't. So I think my cooking got better. I don't even know. Do you get that one? I don't know. Level up quote from who? Who is it? Cooking? I don't know who it's from. Oh, Fire Emblem. Oh, I'm thinking Disney characters. Okay. Okay, so that's the the right club. It's due Thursday at midnight. Again, don't overthink it. It's you're already popping them off in chat, so it should be fairly fun and easy. Have fun with it. Next, the big assignment is write a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. Oops, let me edit this. Right, it used to be Pathfinder, now it's Dungeons and Dragons. Save. Okay. Write a Dungeons and Dragons adventure. You have 6 pages. Everybody's like, doesn't have to be double spaced. If you space it like this, 2 columns, it looks like 1.5 space, that's fine. Okay. In general, look at the examples and use them as your template. Okay. I'm gonna go back. Oh no. Oh, you couldn't see that. Shoot. Let me go.
You couldn't
to
see what?
the example. Share.
We
I put
did.
this. Could you see this?
Yes.
Okay.
Completely.
Okay. So 1.5 space, 2 columns, make it look like this. Notice there are lots of sections. There are boxes for different kinds of writing. So you've got, whenever it's something that the DM should read to the players, it's in a box. When it's kind of metagamey stuff, or like an item, they put it in a gray box. Again, use that as your guide. Okay, going back to this. It's 6 pages and a map or maps. Maps or drawings don't count towards your page count. So if you want to include a drawing of your big bad, feel free. If you want, you need a map. Okay. So again, your map, new share, go into this, share.
While you're sharing, they want to find out, is it pairs or individual?
It's individuals.
That's what I thought.
Everybody writes their own. You told the story together while playing, and now your challenge is to write so that the story can be told through a D&D session. So I'm trying to get to my maps. Okay, so this one's not as good here. So here's the magic shop. You'll note that there's a map and there are labels. See, right here and here and here, that then go back to your text, right? Let me get Alt H. Nope, I can't get Alt H. Gosh darn it. Oh, there we are. So yes, it's individual. Yes, it's just the story part, not the specifics of gameplay. So again, here's the Inventor's Workshop, but it's basically one room, so you don't have to label the rooms. The Kenku Hideout is here. Again, it's one room, so you don't have to put numbers on things unless there are specific places where Kenku do things or are part of things. And here, this one, so this isn't the greatest example, but we've got ground floor, millstone floor, and dust floor, so that in the text, ground floor will have a description, then millstone floor will have a description, then dust floor. Personally, I would rather this were just labeled 1, 2, and 3, and then in the text, 1 ground floor, 2 millstone floor, 3 dust floor, because I don't want to memorize the floors of a windmill. I just want to look where I have to look, right? Plus, if you have handouts like this, please don't make them too much text. You'll notice here this is the handout of the map of the town, whereas up here, this is the same town, but each area is labeled with what they are: Drakewell's Arcana, Troglow Square, so that I can find the map. So a good way to think about maps is an overall map of the area, and with labeled places, and then each place broken out into another map with rooms labeled, right? So that's always a good way to do it. Or like, say you're going to be outside in the forest the whole time. You give me a map of the forest. So here's the meadow, here's the fairy ring, here's the lake with the lake monster, over here's the giant old tree. And that's a big thing labeled with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of each section. And then the old tree area, it's got a cave under the roots, and there are sturges in the branches and such, and I would have a map of that area with the various features of it labeled. Okay, so going back to the assignment, share. Lots of stuff for you to consider while writing. So you guys read that. In terms of format, you need an overview. This is a brief summary of the adventure, so that it's kind of like your abstract in a school paper, where in a paragraph or two I can see what this adventure is. You will be fighting pirates this whole thing. You will your characters will get involved in a murder mystery in an old mansion, that sort of thing. Adventure hook is, how do we get the players in? In the case of the one you played, it was the usual. I mean, the standard thing is you're all in a bar and there's a mysterious stranger back in the corner, and he tells you about a thing, and either hires you to go do something or just gives you some information, and you all decide to go to that old haunted mansion, right? Here we started out in the theater, so that was a little weird because it wasn't a bar, so that was exciting. We thought that was the big twist. And then the guy who was going to give you the quest didn't give you a quest. He accused you of being the bad guys and then was immediately murdered, right? So that's a big twist on the standard adventure hook. And instead of somebody hiring you to go do a thing, you were not hired. The guy who was going to hire you was killed, and you have to clear your name of his murder. So that was an interesting, different adventure hook. Then the adventure itself, which is all the encounters, all the spaces that you're going to. how do we end the adventure? They caught the big bad, or does the big bad die? Does the big bad get away? Does the big bad get captured and turned over to some higher authority? Um, do we open a portal to another world and everybody gets sucked through? Do we open a portal to another world and a giant demon comes through and eats everybody's head? How does it end, right? And then maps and handouts. What you don't need. Um, there are all sorts of adjusting the encounter sections in the example. Switching over to that. So if we go back here, adjusting the encounter, right? Here's all these XP. We don't care about XP. Here's where is it? Like things like this, role playing Little Wing. That's fine. Uh, an interesting, unique item that needs a description. Write it down. XP award we don't need. If there is treasure, like this treasure is reasonable, 2 wingwear suits, because they're going to need them later in the adventure. But if there's a chest full of 300 gold pieces, that's fine. It doesn't need a lot of description, right? But here again, adjusting the encounter, and then way back here, the introduction. You should somewhere, just in the title, tell me what you're shooting for is a group of 4 or 5 first level adventurers. Okay, if you've never played D&D before, if you've never run D&D before, or written anything for D&D before, that's what you shoot for. Okay, if you've been playing D&D for years, since you were 8, and you've got a notebook full of dungeons that you've been writing ever since you were 12, and you want to, you've got the greatest evil clown adventure ever, and it's 6 pages or less. That's cool, but it's for 5th level adventurers. I'm fine with that. Give me an adventure for 5th level adventurers, but tell me it's for 5th level adventurers. Okay. Then all of this D&D Adventurers League, you don't need to worry about, or even preparing the adventure. This is all kind of how to play D&D stuff, and before play at the table, and adjusting the adventure, and dungeon mastering the adventure. We don't need any of this stuff. Even downtime and lifestyle, we don't need any of that stuff. Get to the adventure background and the overview, and go from there, and the adventure hook, right? Tell me a little bit about the world. This is a world where rival gangs of clowns control this city. The mimes have gone underground, right? That's good adventure background. Overview is that kind of abstract of what you're going to get here. They have this clue tree because they have to say you can't go to everything in the clue tree, and then the hook gets us going, and boom, we're in the adventure. So use this. I've also included, going back, share. I've included links to download 2 other adventures, so you can see 2 other adventures. So they're not all murder mysteries. Please, please, please don't just rewrite the adventure you played with different monsters. That's, if you do that, I will point that out. That's happened before, where they basically take the adventure that's played, and instead of a giant spider, they put an owlbear, and instead of a bunch of goblins, it's now a bunch of kobolds, right? It's the same thing. Write something. I'm looking for story from you. Then on handling monsters, I don't need the complete stat block for every monster. I'm not a stickler about the rules. I'm looking for a cohesive story, right? Rather than is this monster the appropriate level for first level adventurers? Can we base our new adventure based on how we did in your adventure? Remember, this is not about your characters. This is for any characters running. So remember, well, in the 4 o'clock class, uh, they had 3 fighters and a rogue as one of their parties. Um, and amazingly, when all you have is hammers, everything looks like a nail. Um, so 3 fighters and a rogue meant they did all combat all the time. They just killed everything. So even when they went to the inventor's place, and there's a bunch of intelligence checks, and none of them could even make the intelligence check. In fact, if they tried, they would actually hinder the poor non-player character. If you want to write a whole adventure about Barry, that's fine. But remember, it should be for anyone to play. You're going to put this up on the internet, okay? So if I want to play it with my friends who have none of your in jokes, does it still work? And that's what I'm going to be looking for. Because there's, well, let's go to the other thing. There is another assignment that is due. This one is due Monday at midnight, but then on Tuesday at midnight, you're going to take that adventure and you're going to make a portfolio page that features it. Okay. So if you don't have a portfolio yet, you should start one. Any homepage creation tools you want to use, Wix, WordPress, Squarespace, Tumblr, whatever your DeviantArt page, whatever website you use to create your portfolio. Please make a page for this. You don't have, it may not last until your senior year when you're putting things out there. But the point of every class that you take is that we have one portfolio project, and this is your portfolio project. So your page should include the title of the adventure, a link to download a PDF of the adventure, including all the maps and drawings. So all those maps and drawings should be incorporated into one PDF. If you don't know how to make a PDF, you can, I believe everybody has the month free of Adobe products. So you should be able to get Adobe Acrobat through the school to create PDFs. You should have a paragraph telling me what the adventure is, kind of like your adventure overview. You could probably copy and paste that. A little bit about what makes this adventure unique. What are you going for? And then on the page, you should make the page look pretty. Make me think that this is worth downloading and looking at. So for instance, I am going to open this in a new tab. This is Richard Baker's portfolio, and he's both an author and game designer. So he made the starter set for and some adventures for D&D and other RPGs. These are, he's got a lot of credits, so he doesn't have to put a lot for each thing. Um, you have one, so you have to make that one look good. Okay. Wait, go away there. Also, I was going back and forth as to where to put this. Watch this. It's a longer video
Writing an
than I
adventure.
wanted to do. It's 16 minutes. But this is advice from the pros about how to write an adventure that's not just for your group. Okay. So, by the way, Sebastian, someone has done every idea that all of you have had. There is no new idea under the sun, but if you write it from your heart, it will be different than everyone else's stuff. Okay, if you want to do something else, that's fine, but generally. One of the reasons why professional writers just say, don't send me your crap is because I'm going to have a similar idea all by myself without ever reading your stuff. And I don't want to have you to have any claim to my idea just because I'm popular. Right. So if you write a cool horror thing, you are going to send it to Stephen King, and he's not going to touch it because he probably wrote that same thing in 1978, right? So, okay, so write a D&D adventure, and make a portfolio page of the adventure, and I have, yeah, it should have been. So, this was front page of DM's Guild content a few weeks ago. So, yeah. What is this? I wanted to do Weekend at Bernie's with Strahd. Sure, why not? Okay. So, I knew I wasn't. Well, okay. So, think about this. And this is, I got a minute. I have less than a minute. Stanley Parable is about moving through space, right? Every ending, every different story that you go through in Stanley Parable is about you walking a different path, right? So compare that to our discussion yesterday of all your D&D stuff. Every time you told me a story, I would reply with, where did you go then? Right? It wasn't, so it's about, it is also about moving through space. D&D is about describing spaces that characters can inhabit to tell a story, right? So when we're writing games, we kind of have to let go of plot, right? The heavy plot stuff, think about Tacoma. That plot is the same no matter what. We all go through the same thing. It is the same plot every time you go through it. The only difference might be you see more or less of what is there, right? But Stanley Parable, you see something different every time you start over. As long as you make different choices, you can say do the same things and start and go the same way and see the same thing, but it's about moving through spaces and seeing new areas. So when you're writing your D&D adventure, think in terms of setting, because in D&D we can't control characters. We can only control non-player characters, but the heroes of our story, we don't even know who they are. We know nothing about them. So we can control the setting, we can control the place and what is waiting for them there, and then we can control how some basic guidelines for how our characters will react to various choices that the players make. But lots of times the players do things that we don't even anticipate. Yes, you can have pirates and ninjas and zombies in this. Oh, that's the other thing. Read the monster description, right? If you come up with zombies that have an evil mastermind zombie that is planning to take over the world, um, and you read the description of zombies, and it says they are mindless, undead, bent on eating the flesh of the living. They don't really have mastermind zombies, right? So don't cast a monster in a role that he would not, or she would not, be able to fulfill, right? Also, look at challenge ratings, CRs. It's not a hard and fast rule, but CR1, CR2, up to 4 is where you'd be looking for first level monsters. If you put a gargantuan silver dragon versus your party of first level people, they're gonna die, right? So one of the things that they put in monster descriptions is this thing called CR, which is challenge rating, which is a rough indicator of how hard this monster is, right? So first level players, their challenge rating is 1. You put 4 of them together, their challenge rating as a party is roughly 3, 4, right? And it's not an exact science. All of these numbers are kind of made up and just kind of thrown together. But it's a good kind of way to say, is this reasonable? Okay, I am way over time. So thanks for coming. I will it's lower than that in 5e. There's like 1/4 CR and 1/8 and stuff. Yes, there are. But if you put 4 1/4 CR people in a room, that's 1 CR, right? So you just add more. Okay. We'll talk more on Thursday, and if you want to come by and watch me play games tomorrow at 3, that's where I'll be on Twitch. Okay, stopping recording. Bye.